Hey everyone, I'm Maya Gonzalez. I'm Harleen Kaur.
And I'm Ashley Huynh.
And today, we're going to be talking about Elizabethan acting styles and actors.
We are all familiar with the Shakespearean plays and how they're presented to most of us, whether it's through school or just coming upon the subject in your lifetime. Although a look behind the scenes can tell you much more than what you can only see on stage and shed some insight. So let's go back in time and understand on how acting was much more than saying words and putting on costumes, and dig deeper on the emphasis and meaning to everything we know as Elizabethan acting. The Elizabethan age was from November 17, 1588 to March 24, 1603, which was known as a golden age for England and English history, where they had great classical ideas, power over Spain, and expanded their territory. One of the great ideas that emerged from this era was the Elizabethan plays and acting. According to Google, acting is the art of embodying someone else as a job in a play, movie, TV show, or music video. A lot of people today make a living off of acting, especially if they are in famous plays, TV shows, or movies. Today we are going to be looking at the actors and styles of acting in the Elizabethan era. Now let's get into the different styles of acting. Since women were not allowed to be in plays and act, men who were able to pass off as females with a high-pitched voice and petite structure would act in those female roles. Actors also had to do their own stunts on stage. For example, they would learn how to sword fight. Come with that D, foe! There was a lack of sets in the plays, so the playwrights had to write out the location in the play, and the audience had to pay attention, or else they would not know what the actors were saying. They also used the concept of mise-en-scene, where they would bring certain props to the stage to represent the location the actors were supposed to be in. The life of actors was not as luxurious as life of actors today. They were constantly traveling in troupes and performing shows, so they were often homeless. At first, the theater was not liked because it was against religious ideas and the government. Acting was looked down upon in society and was considered a terrible job and did not have very good pay. After a while, when plays started being regulated, they started to gain popularity, and actors started to become more rich and famous. Many actors were known later to open up their own acting companies and theaters.
The audiences in Shakespeare's time were much more involved with the play than audiences today. If they didn't like the play, they could throw items on the stage, such as furniture, and answer back to the actors.
Boo thee, suck it.
Receive us off the stage!
Since electricity wasn't invented yet, plays would often be held in daylight during the afternoon. As a result, actors would rehearse in the morning and hold the play in the afternoon. Some plays would be held in indoor theaters, but seats were much more expensive. Life as an actor was difficult. Outside of acting and entertaining, many people regarded actors as thieves and a threat to peaceful society, while in reality, a majority of actors were poor and could barely even afford their own costumes. Actors were paid by the shares they held in their company. Theaters would follow a repertory system, which meant that they would regulate different plays a season. so no play was ever repeated twice in a day. As a result, actors had to memorize lines for different plays within a few days. Their scripts only had their own lines on it and cues for the actor to follow. This format of scripting is called cue scripting. Since rehearsal time was so limited, actors would use cue acting, which meant that they would have someone backstage whisper their lines to them right before they said them.
Along with being able to memorize a whole script in a few days, actors were also required to do their own stunts convincingly and have a voice loud enough to carry throughout the theater.
Whoa!
In order to convey the play's emotions to the audience, actors also had to overemphasize their motions. Being an actor required great memory, talent, and dedication.
Looking past on acting and the challenging requirements that must have been made, now we can take a look on the actual person behind the role they played. The most well known actors that were labeled famous include William Shakespeare, Edward Allen, and John Hemmings, etc. Of course, there are others, but we won't bore you with the other 9 out of 12 on our list. Let's move on to the English actor Edward Allen. Edward Allen was born September 1566, Bishopsgate, London. He is considered the best of the best Shakespearean actor of his time. He began his passion in his late teens as he became a member of a troupe that traveled around London. Touring provisions didn't make him too happy, so he left with the hope of performing in front of Elizabeth and her court. Edward gained high respect for his work, and he later died November 25th, 1626. William Shakespeare, with the E at the end, pardon me, was born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, in the UK. He dropped out of grammar school and got hitched to his wife Anne Hathaway. After, it is assumed that he spent time developing his plans and the plots were to soon become his plays, and time refining his dramatic techniques. The minor detail missing is how he began his career in the first place. No one really knows if he was recruited by an acting troupe or traveled to London and started from there. It doesn't really matter, for in the great city he was titled an actor by 1592, and the rest is history. He wrote melodramatic plays with exaggerated actions and gestures. You can see this in Romeo and Juliet. He died on April 23rd, 1616, and his remains remain buried at Holy Trinity Church. Now, last but not least, we will be discussing about John Hemmings. He was born on November 25th, 1566, Droitwich Spa, the UK. At only the age of 12, he was sent away to London and was in service as an apprentice for 9 years. At the age of 22, he married a young widow, Rebecca Edwards Nail. He owned the only house that basically neighbored the Second Globe Theatre. He later passed on October 10th, 1630. Acting was a major factor of Elizabethan culture.
Edit, culture is spelled with an L.
It influenced our performance over time. We now know that becoming an actor had its obstacles, but it paid off in the end. And theater culture has thrived since then. That's all we have for you guys today, so thank you for watching and giving us your time and attention.